general.
Now,
but
because EA licensed them out.
Right, exactly. There's that branding again.
Right. Anyway, so we say all of that to say this. Sports games are ridiculously popular. One of the most popular games in America year after year is Madden. One of the most popular games, period, is FIFA every year.
Oh, yeah.
That means, right off the bat, you have two of the most popular, arguably the most popular video games in the world besides something like WoW, which has millions of people playing it every single second, are sports games, right? That is crazy when you think about something like where video games used to be.
That's a big chunk of video game pie.
Where all of us grew up, when there was sports games were a part of the landscape, but they were certainly not the most popular games in the world, right?
Right.
There might have even been yearly iterations of them, but they were not that popular, right?
Right.
So here's my question for you. As these games have gotten so popular, and so many people play games just because of sports games, and as the realism has really kicked up a couple notches, right? And there's been just these crazy, I guess, leaps and bounds ahead into seeing what these sports actually look like on the screen in realism. How has your appreciation of these games changed, if at all? Do you enjoy sports games more now because of the realism? Do you enjoy them just as much as you ever did because they're sports games? Or do you enjoy them less because of the realism?
I think there's always a certain subset of hardcore sports nerds, so to speak, that really enjoy the realism, and that's why they buy the new Madden, all that, and the roster updates.
They just can't get enough of the particular game X.
Right. But you know what? For me, as it gets more realistic, and you have more options, you have more complicated controls.
Yep.
And I can't remember half the time, unless you play these games a lot. You can't remember every single option you to juke and to spin and to jump and blah, 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 blah. Whereas Tecmo Super Bowl, which is still very popular, and in fact, just discovered the other day that there's a site that every year updates the roster.
Which is a great idea.
And you can download the ROM, and it's halftime.
Fantastic.
And let's skip this halftime show. This is taking too long. Sorry, Chris Berman. Hey, what's going on?
Well, at halftime, the Patriots are up by 3.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is that Tecmo Super Bowl is you got 2 buttons.
Right.
And a cross pad.
Yep.
It's eminently simple. And people, to this day, love it decades later because of that simplicity.
Yep.
It's not very realistic at all.
No.
Just run up and down.
Right.
And you can outrun anybody.
Yeah. Yes,
more or less.
Yes, you can. If you do it perfectly, you can.
But yeah.
But I still play Madden competitively with people. When we're just looking for something fun to play, like we will set up a Madden tournament.
Sure.
I mean, not Madden. Sorry, a Tecmo Super Bowl tournament.
Yeah.
Tecmo Super Bowl is immensely popular for me. It really keeps the simplicity of it, which makes me wonder something like a Blitz or an NBA Jam, right? Which are not realistic at all. I remember playing those games like crazy and having a tremendous amount of fun with them. I mean, those things aren't realistic in the least. Yet I think, in some ways, they keep the enjoyment of a sports game more exciting than the actual realistic sports games.
And here's an interesting bit that I just pulled up, is that the sales of Madden, while still very strong, have been waning as of late.
That makes sense.
It's still ridiculously popular. The last real year that I have on this table is Madden 2008, which granted is a while ago, but that's 3.61 million.
Right.
2007 was 4.72 million. 2006 was 5.1 million.
Right.
2005 was 5.7 million.
So there's a significant drop off there.
There is. Why is that? Are people wising up to, hey, this is basically the same game every freaking year?
Well, let's talk about the rise of fantasy football.
Hey, that's a good point too.
I mean, as you see and fantasy sports in general, we don't mean to just single out football, but
mostly
if
fantasy
you look at
football.
fantasy sports in general, they've really kind of come onto the rise. I think you could probably make a nice little trend that shows that as soon as they got really, really popular, the sports games kind of tailed off a little bit, partially because people want to spend their Sundays watching every single football game now.
And they can
Exactly.
with the internet and
that's
television
another,
packages.
That's another great part of the puzzle as well. Where you know, it used to be you watched 2 football games on a Sunday and you were happy about it, and that was it. You know, like
back in my day.
Back in my day, we had that annoying guy from ESPN doing Sunday Night Football.
And it was when it was Monday.
Mike Patrick.
When it was Monday Night Football.
I don't really. He's good at basketball, but football.
Dick Vitale.
A touchdown.
Baby.
Exactly. Yeah. So Dick Vitale. Yeah, Dick Vitale doing.
Yeah, and it's really funny because this is the crossover between nerds in general and sports nerds, which are more socially acceptable.
Yes.
Is that
arguably
fantasy football, the D&D of the sports world?
Yes.
It's so stat heavy. It's very wonkish, you know, and there's a lot of luck of the draw, so to speak.
Right.
Might as well be rolling dice in certain ways.
Absolutely.
It's just.
Except with fantasy football, it's like you make your team and then you just go sit and watch.
Right. But
and
then you get to
You know what I mean? Like you set the team for the week, you go grab your remote and your chips and you just hang out.
But I think there is something. I think that is something interesting to hit on. That the rise of fantasy football kind of coincides with not the fall of Madden, but the decline a bit.
Yep.
It's still a very popular franchise. Again, it sells millions every year.
It is.
But
and the openings are huge. I mean,
yes,
the
they
openings,
still an event.
Huge parties in New York City and all over the country where they just, have these. They rent an entire building and just have everyone in the world out at it, and release the game. But yeah, I mean, it's. I would say that my. Of course, I've got to be leading somewhere to ask this question, right? And my opinion is this: I don't really enjoy playing sports games anymore. The time that I enjoyed playing sports games the most was right inside this window. Was right during this particular point in time.
Well, you know why? What it helped is when you were living with people.
Exactly.
And you live with 3 other guys.
And it's time to just sit down and play.
Yeah, you can have a whole franchise season, and you have a bunch of young, guys with way too much time on their hands.
Exactly.
And it's a lot easier to do that.
Exactly. So I think it's, maybe that has something to do with it, and I just, if I had 20 guys living in the same place right now, maybe it would be a little different, that I'd be enjoying games a lot more right now. But
Sausage Fest.
I do not. Shut up. I would definitely not say that I enjoy sports games as much as I used to. The classic, Sega games, World Series baseball, all those kinds of games back in the day that were just awesome, right? N64, Wayne Gretzky hockey, Blitz, NBA Jam, just not really feeling it like I used to. I mean,
yeah. And yes, we're using Madden as the big example here, but really it's for any sports game that we could be talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's true. And I don't know what... I know the sales for FIFA have been ridiculously good. I don't know that they're any better than they used to be, but let's just, mark the trend. I think it's... Sports games in general are having a tougher time. Remember when they used to release, even snowboarding games every year? And now that's come down to every couple of years,
Extreme sports aren't so big anymore.
Yeah, exactly. X Games and SSX and all those kinds of... Although I do want to play the new SSX game. Those games are awesome. Anyway, Tony Hawk, all those kinds of things really, really diminished. So, I don't know. I'm not sure that realism really does a whole lot for us, but I think you might be able to make this argument for a lot of things. However, if you look at other genres, the realism has really contributed in many ways to how well those genres have spread to so many other people. And that was Sid Meier's point today in the article I was reading.
First-person shooters.
Like first-person shooters.
Which have exploded.
Absolutely.
Not to, to coin a phrase.
Right. Well, that's, perfect.
So
it exploded. So it's just an interesting little trend there that I think as sports games get more realistic, they kind of become less interesting. And as a lot of other kinds of games become more realistic, they become more interesting. Although your argument about complication and, lots of layers of complexity probably hold for no matter what genre for classic gamers like us.
I think so.
There are a lot of games I don't want to play.
And for people like us, there's Tecmo Super Bowl with updated rosters.
Bang. And they're releasing every game known to man that had 2-button controllers on every new platform.
That's
right?
also true.
I mean, you can get Grand Theft Auto 3 now for Android, iPod, everything else, right? Yeah. I mean,
which is kind of weird on
It is
Android,
what it is,
yeah.
but yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 being 10 years old just blows my mind. But in any case, there it is.
Almost old enough to take out for a drink.
No.
12?
No, but maybe to take it out on a date.
11.
Yeah. Good to go. Anyway, with that wonderful segue, we will open it up to the next part of the show. What's the score? 14-10 Giants.
Stupid Kurt Warner.
Oh, is that another touchdown?
This is obviously...
That's another touchdown to Jeremy Shockey, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is 20-10 with the extra point upcoming. Just thought I'd let everybody update.
And Tom Brady's not happy.
Now,
look, he's not happy.
No, I think he was smiling there. I actually made that. It was wrong.
That was kind of his Madden, or his Manning face there.
Yeah, well, actually, what kind of faces could you possibly make inside this game? The point is, now it's time to move on to most people's favorite part of the show, where we talk less, and we actually find out what is going on in your minds that you'd like to ask us. Please send us a personal chat in the chat room if you'd like to ask us a question.
I just put up the name to send a private message to. So bombard me with questions, and we'll pick some good ones and, answer them. And it can be on anything we've talked about, any of the news stories, sports games, anything in general. I guess
the Giants are so much better than the Patriots.
No one's going to ask that. So.
Oh, yeah, they will. All right, let's see what we've got.
Let's see.
Oh, those look like good questions. We're getting some good questions.
Hey, a sports-related question.
Oh, cool.
Now, see, that's interesting. I don't know anything about that, though. What do you think?
So that's a good question. So let's see. So we've got Zaccarini.
Zaccaroni.
Oh, yeah. I can't read. I just can't read. Sorry. Zaccaroni asking the question, what do you think... When do you think Tony Hawk was officially ruined? So
when they started doing it every year and not really changing anything?
I mean, there's a good point for that, right? When it became kind of the churned out, slightly improved version of last year's, and stopped being about a franchise that was creating unique experiences,
right? And
started being about pumping something out every year.
And that's, I guess, I never really played a lot of Tony Hawk, but I guess that was part of its appeal, right? Is that it was something new. Skate or Die which is much older, was also interesting. Game. Yeah, it was actually a fun game.
I loved Skate or Die.
But it was more than just skating.
Yeah.
And which it was like Tony Hawk. You had extra things to do.
Yeah.
But, and maybe this has something else to do with the kind of decline of Madden, is once the populace catches on to, hey, I'm buying the same thing for $50 every year, I'm not so much interested in it. 60 now, yeah.
Yeah, and so here's the other piece of the puzzle. The NFL is bulletproof in America. We all know that. It's the most popular sport by far, right? They can afford to put out a game every single year and have people buy it, right? When you have a sport that is not nearly as popular, skateboarding, right? With a celebrity and star power that's not nearly as powerful as something like a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, right? An Eli Manning.
Tom Brady. Eli.
He's an elite quarterback. Suck it. Anyway, so, it doesn't have the kind of star power, right? So when you have that kind of a game, I think it's hard to produce that kind of content over and over and over again. It just becomes really hard to do that. And I think here's the tempting answer. The tempting answer is to say, oh, well, when they decided they were going to go to peripherals, right? When they had the skateboard peripheral and you could do all your tricks on the skateboard and everything. That's the trap, right? And I don't think that's when the game went south. I think the game went south because of the fact that the concept in general was becoming really tired. All right, so what else we got?
Let's see. We've got... have you heard about this? I think this is a good one.
Go ahead.
Which is... It kind of created a shitstorm I was not expecting, but have you seen the new reveal of Mega Man in Street Fighter... I guess it's Street Fighter X Tekken?
Unfortunately, yes, I do know what you're talking about.
I got no problem with it. I think it's hilarious.
It is kind of hilarious.
So if you're not aware... I can't remember exactly what platform for, but for a specific platform, there's a bonus character, and it's the horrible Mega Man from the cover art of Mega Man 1. If it's like this weird-looking guy in like a yellow Tron-ish jumpsuit with a laser gun. Except it's an even worse version because it's like a fat guy. It's like Tron guy if he was in a Mega Man costume.
Right.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
With like a mask.
People
he's got like
are
a helmet on.
pissed off for some reason about that. Oh, and that was from Dalen 9. I'm sorry. That